Good morning, class. Welcome back. Today we are here to begin a new chapter. That's chapter number 6, Rise of Kingdoms and Republics. Continuing with the last chapter, we saw that the era was distributed into two phases, early Vedic period and later Vedic period. Early Vedic period and later Vedic period. So in the later Vedic period, the people learned to use different tools. They were expert in using iron tools. So the connection comes over here during the rise of kingdoms and republics. How did the kingdom rise? How did the kings flourish? How did they use or make use of different tools for their survival? And how was the republic system? How was the republic system? Where the republic policies were followed or the monarchy system was followed? What were their sources of earning and what were the different works that they basically performed? How was the king named or what was the duty of a king and how was he represented by and what was by his subjects, what he was called as? All these details we are going to see in this chapter. Page number 41. It's on page number 41, chapter number 6, Rise of Kingdoms and Republics. In the latter Vedic period, the large-scale use of iron tools helped clear the dense forest north of the Ganga. It is because of the use of the iron tools, or it is because of the use of different tools, that people who lived near the Gangetic plains or on the shores of the Gangetic plain, they started cultivating different crops. They could cut with the help of tools which they made out of iron. Farming in these fertile areas yielded rich crops. The area or the particular part of the land was very fertile. It was blessed with a good soil and the water which came from the Gangetic plain. So the Aryans rapidly expanded their territories eastwards. Many settlements came up in eastern UP and northern Bihar. The tribal kingdoms now grew in size and came to be called as Janpadas. Janpadas, or where the tribes set their foot, are called Janpadas. So it was basically the tribal king who was called as the Janpadas. Why did they settle to that place? It's because of the fertile land which actually gave them a good soil, a good source of water, and as a result, a good crop production was seen. Now, what are the sources? How did we get the knowledge? How did we get the information about such events? So, what are the sources? Literary or the archaeological sources. There are two main sources of from where the historians describe or derive the knowledge. The first one is, much of knowledge about the Janpadas have been derived from the literary sources. It's all the literature context or the literature text which have given us the knowledge or from which the sources are determined. Much of our knowledge about the Janpadas have been derived from literary sources such as the Vedic text called as Brahmanas and early Buddhist text. So there are two texts basically which are mentioned, the Brahmanas and the Buddhist text. These are the literary sources from which the information about the Aryans or the early tribal kings have been derived. As far as archaeological sources are concerned, the archaeological sources include remains excavated at the Purana Kila in Delhi and the site at Hastinapur and Akrijankera in the UP. So these are different places where the archaeological sources are found, or where there are some remains which actually excavates, which actually gives us some sort of idea that the Aryans or the tribal kings led a fruitful life on the base of the Gangetic plains. The remains of pottery found at the sites are of two types. A type of blue pottery with painted designs known as painted grey, and a red pottery. The animal and the plant remains show that the people reared many cattle and cultivated crops such as barley, wheat, rice, pulse, sugarcane and peas. So these are the different crops which were cultivated during that time. And there is another structure, there is another event that surrounds us, that the cattle were reared during those times. So another occupation which comes out after agriculture is the rearing of the animals. Means the early tribals or early tribal kings or the Aryans basically dependent on the agricultural productions and the rearing of different animals. Now the next would be, what was the system of monarchy? What was the system of kingship? Whether it was a republican one or the monarchical system. A Janpada could be a republic. A republic is where a state is elected or the state representative is elected by the ruler. Like we have in India, democratic system. The democratic system is where the leaders are elected directly by us. A Janpada could be a republic, a state having an elected ruler or rulers, or a monarchy. A monarchy is basically a system where a single ruler rules the country and his family members keep on passing the hereditary passions to the next generation. There is no change in the kingship, but it keeps on passing from one generation to the other. Means the kingship. For example, the Janpada of Wadi in northern Bihar was a republic, while the Janpada of Magda in southern Bihar was a monarchy system. So both the examples have been quoted over here. Republican example and the monarchy example. Republican is where the rulers are directly elected by the members of the state, and whereas the monarchy system, it's a family business, it's a family passion, wherein the kingship or the crown of the kings are passed from one generation to the other without bringing any changes in the political regime. So this was about the monarchy and the republican system and how the Aryans settled on the bank of the river Ganga and what were their basic occupations, how did cultivation bring a change into their life, and apart from the agricultural occupations, they even depended on the rearing of animals, the grazing of animals, which actually created some sort of economic for them that made them lead a fruitful life. Tomorrow we'll see the tribal king, why he was referred as Janpad. Janpad is basically where a tribe set their foot, is known as Janpadas. So how was he referred from Janpadas to Mahajanpadas, and what were the sources through which the knowledge have been derived? So tomorrow we'll see the conditions of the Mahajanpads and how did Janpads transform themselves from Janpad to Mahajanpads. Thank you, class.